Okay, awesome. So hello to everyone that's already joining. I'm gonna leave it open for people to join for about another minute or so, but this is the Define the Future of TBM and Insurance open forum. So this is everything, all things TBM and insurance. And this meeting will be recorded. Also, with that being said, with this meeting being recorded, if you know that somebody might wanted to come to this meeting and they're not able to make it, I do post the recordings on the community page. And moving forward, I'm gonna start posting them on our YouTube channel as well. So if you know if someone would like to see it or you like to pass it along to a team member, you'll be able to do that as well. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. This is the Define the Future of TBM and Insurance open forum for those who just joined. Our speakers today is Nathan Batchelder and Matt Erickson. They are our TBM and insurance co-chairs. So for those of you that are not part of the strategy communities, because we do send our open forums to everyone in the community, regardless of if you're in the strategy community or not, we will spin up a QR code. So if you'd like to join the strategy community, you can. You can just be a part of open forums, coffee chats, or meetings and participate in surveys. And then if you'd like to take it a step further, you can join the work group and I'll have a QR code in the slide for that as well. All right, and then this is just a few housekeeping items that I'd like for everyone to keep in mind. Please be muted upon entry. You can turn your video on if you like. Please post your questions in the chat box. I will be monitoring the chat box once Nate and Matt begin to speak, and then I will post the recording and slides on TBM Connect and YouTube. So this is just a little bit about the TBM Council. So we were founded in 2012 to advance the discipline of TBM, Technology Business Management. We are the responsible governing body of the standards of the TBM framework and taxonomy. We have over 20,000 members globally. We're present in over 4,000 organizations, including 1,700 CXOs and the 92 of the Fortune 100, and we're now using TBM to manage more than $1 trillion in technology spend. The TBM Council's main focus is our four main pillars, which is our standards and best practices. That's where we create the standards and best practices and conduct research specific to adoption, maturity, and the application of TBM as a discipline. We have education and certifications. So that's works in standards and research to develop skills and base training and career certifications. We have collaboration and networking. So that's regional executive summits, webinars, industry specific strategy communities, which is the open forum that you all are a part of today. And then our annual TBM Global Conference. And then lastly, as of a couple years ago, we have our open partner ecosystem. So then we coordinate the engagement of vendors, partners, service providers, and who contribute to the TBM, the practice of TBM, the standards, and the communities. So this is just an overview of our strategy communities. So we have a few industry verticals as well. I do strongly encourage you all to join one on TBM to Connect to get real-time updates. You can join discussions, access past recordings, get invited to quarterly open forums such as this one today, and you can also learn what the cohort is working on. So each of our strategy communities are chaired by 1 to 3 members. We have chairs from various companies and roles, such as CFO technology from Brinks, AIG, other organizations such as Marshfield Clinic, Mass Mutual, Morgan Stanley, State of Washington, and many others. And they develop a yearly charter of deliverables to release at TBM conference each year. So you can either volunteer to join the cohort to help drive deliverables for the year, Or you can just be a fly on the wall. You can just join the community and you just kind of want to see what everyone is working on and what the updates are, and just kind of share your point of view or things that you would like the community to work on as well. And then here we have our state of TBM survey. So this is actually the last day that the survey will be open. We do want you all's input. We'll be discussing the state of TBM at conference this year. If you're not able to make conference, we will post a blog or a case study. We have a whole page dedicated to the state of TBM. We've been doing it since 2020. So if you can complete the survey today, please do so and pass it along to your team members as well. And then another one of our research initiatives is the TBM salary survey. So your input fuels the first ever TBM salary report. So this is delivered to the global TBM community. You can scan this QR code to take the survey. It shouldn't take you long. I think it's around a 5 to 7 minute survey, and it's just launching the landmark research initiative to benchmark compensation across TBM aligned roles worldwide. And then lastly, on my behalf, before I introduce the speakers, this is all about our TBM ambassadors. So we created the TBM Council Ambassador Program to lead the TBM Council into the next phase of growth. So they are recognized leaders of the TBM community, experienced practitioners who exemplify excellence and share their expertise to elevate the discipline of TBM. So their contributions help shape the future of TBM through mentorship, thought leadership, and peer engagement. So if you'd like to connect with an ambassador, I will send a follow-up email. So there will be a link to connect with one. They're SMEs, so subject matters experts. So you can ask them a question, you can ask them for mentorship, or if you just like to network, and we will have some present at TBM conference. And we actually have a TBM Council ambassador on this call. He is the speaker today, which is Nate. So he is a ambassador as well. And if you're interested in being an ambassador for the TBM Council, you can also reach out to me. But I'll go ahead and hand this off to Matt and Nate. So here's their first speaker.
Thanks, Asia. Really appreciate the opportunity to talk with the community and folks that are interested in learning a little bit more about the community. I know we were thinking about what to bring to today's session. We thought a reflection on some of the work that our strategy community has focused on over the past year plus. And so we'll talk a little bit more about the ebook that we released earlier this year, as well as some of our plans for conference in a few weeks. So hopefully some folks on the call are going to be able to join us down in Miami in November and get a chance to meet. But yeah, welcome all, and really hoping this can be an interactive discussion. So while we have a few pages that Matt and I will flip through, definitely welcome the engagement. Any questions, feel free to shout them out. We really get the most out of this when there's some engaged dialogue. So welcome any and all questions.
Yeah, same. I'll just echo what Nate was saying. Welcome. We're hoping that we're able to provide some insight into what we've been looking into with the insurance cohort, as well as just TBM in general. I know this is TBM and insurance open forum, but we've been doing TBM a long time. I know a number of us have probably come from other organizations to come in insurance. So I think a lot of the same trends fit other orgs, so in other industries. So hopefully we can have some good conversation and go from there. So welcome. I can speak this one. So our TBM insurance work group composition. So we do have a number of teams in here, as you can see in the right companies. We have a lot from, Liberty Mutual with Nate and State Farm, Markel, QB and Aflac. Me from Hub International represents more of a broker side of things. So we do have different ways of looking at it. Now, what I will say is we are always looking for more people to come and join. What we've done in the past couple of years, Nate and I have tried to focus more on the trends and the conversations, and not just looking at the higher level advanced topics in the TBM realm, but how does this impact people that may be just starting, or the hidden challenges to doing TBM in the organization. So this group has been very great in producing our ebook, which we'll cover a little bit, and the survey we did this year. But we're also looking for what to do next and the next steps, so we could always promote good detailed information back to you about what we're finding as in our conversations. And if you feel like you would like to join and help us with those conversations, or just join a few sessions to learn more and ask questions, we're happy to do that as well. So stop there. I don't know if Asia, if we can, is there a way for people to reach out to you if they want to join, or do we have all that?
Yeah, so boom, I have a QR
There you
code.
go.
So if you would like to join the strategy community, you can just scan this QR code. But don't worry, all the links that we are discussing today, I will send a follow-up email. So if you're not able to catch it, I'll be sending an email. Thanks for attending. If you'd like to join the insurance strategy community, here's the link. And then if you would like to join the work group, here is the QR code.
Yeah, I think we meet bi-weekly. So I think in the
Yeah.
beginning there it's like once a month, and then we turn it into bi-weekly as we get closer to conference. It's ad hoc usually. If we need to change it, we're pretty flexible because it's a smaller group, but we do try to meet on Fridays, and it can adjust based on that. But usually it's about 30 minutes to an hour based on everyone's schedule, but we really do have good conversations. It's not always about what are we developing and making. It's, hey, this is a problem we're having today, and how are you handling it, or what are you seeing out there? And it's been very helpful for me. I know that.
Yeah, totally agree, Matt. And I would double down on what you said, and maybe it's even a good segue to talking about the ebook. Even is like, I think when I joined the community a few years ago, the participants had the focus was very much on like pushing the outer bounds of the taxonomy, and like how can a highly mature TBM program continue to expand on the value. And I think it was fantastic work and dialogue to be a part of, but I think there was also a recognition from a lot of the members that it's like, hey, not everyone's quite there yet, right? And so what are some of the like day-to-day either operational challenges or just like organizational barriers that folks are running into. And so I think there's been a lot more dialogue that I've seen in recent years on just like, hey, what's the practical reality of the situation on the ground? And I think when we constructed the contents of the ebook, there was a lot of that in mind, right? Where it's like, how could someone either just curious about TBM come in and learn more about what that could mean for in an insurance context for them practically, or maybe you have an established TBM program and you're looking to do a little bit more. What are some other sort of tentacles that you could start to explore in your organization? And so for folks that maybe haven't had a chance to take a look at that, would certainly welcome you to take a look. And I know with these QR codes here, always happy to bend an ear, or if you want to drop into one of our bi-weeklies like Matt mentioned. I think that's also, we really welcome the different perspectives. And I think it is meant to be a pretty informal connect, and it's nice to just talk with folks that are having similar issues or challenges or questions that they're running into. So definitely welcome the participation.
Yeah, and not to be biased, this is an amazing group to work with. I enjoy working with them on Fridays. Their conversations are always nice. They're just very awesome. So if you're interested, you could also reach out to me. And then if you like, you can reach out to Nate or Matt, but more directly me, and I can connect you to them as well.
Yeah, so try to contrast these things a little bit. So I talked a little bit about the ebook. So that was a big focus for us last year, and we spoke on that at conference last year. We actually released it to the public in the spring. That's out there. We'll touch on that here in some of the contents in a moment. As we then started to reflect on, okay, we've got an ebook out there. what do we want to bring to the community for this year's conference as some of our outputs. We really wanted to get a pulse on where folks were at. So it is a small cohort that meets biweekly, and so if we could extend our reach to just get a sense for what are all community members that are in the insurance industry that are using TBM experiencing, what's the structure of your teams, just really getting a sense for what are people currently using TBM for. What are your TBM teams, your FinOps teams doing? Where do they sit in the organization? These sorts of things. I think it gives us a better sense of, how then to think about where we want to bring the community and what we want to focus our attention on in the future. And so what Asia's got on screen here is a QR code for what is still a live survey. We've had a number of respondents to date, but and we'll certainly talk more about those results at conference for those that are out there. But if anyone hasn't taken it yet, it takes just a few minutes, and I hope that you'll find that the questions are actually thought provoking, and it'll help us to just get a better, more diverse representation of the community and folks that are in the insurance industry using TBM practices.
Yeah, and just with that, our plan is with the survey is we're going to have a stopping point at some point for the results, but we're going to leave it open through the conference, after the conference, and we're going to probably do another one of these open forums even after to kind of go over those results more, I would say, just as people have questions and things, because we're hoping to get more insight into it as we go forward. So it will be open throughout conference. So even if you don't do today, you can do it during, but just want to keep that up. All right. Sorry, it's slowly moving on my screen. So it's a slow fade. And I can introduce this. This is fine.
Yeah, sounds great.
So for our ebook, I don't know how many people on here have seen our ebook, but we did launch this back in March and we presented on it last conference, as Nate said. We focused on some, I would say, the top 6 trending areas, right? And we have them on the next page more on the, the table of contents and things. But we really focus on those trends, and then we kind of focus on main key areas inside of those trends that where TBM can help. So, and I think if you go to the next slide, I have some, if you don't mind. Yes. So with this ebook, you can see on the right, here's our table of contents with, risk avoidance, cost efficiency, and competitive pressures, value management. Those were our top 3 areas. And then inside of that, we had our 6 trend areas. And I actually am going to, sorry, I have it on a slide here. So managing the cost of entry and exit from markets, margin protection, insurance, business services and capabilities, IT finance configuration, product TCO, and emerging technologies. So those were our top 6 areas. So when we wrote this ebook, we tried to really fit it in there and come up with different areas and leverage trends. So if you go to the next slide, and sorry, I'm not trying to rush through it, but we could talk to it, I think, more here. The way it was worked out is we kind of wrote like a background, like on total cost of ownership. How can you get started with that with TBM, right? So we wrote a little blog on each one of these topics tied to this certain area, and then we have some questions or things to ask to get started on the right. And then people you could keyly talk about. So the way we tried to do is we try to gear towards both advanced people as well as new to TBM in your area, because some of these topics you may want to get into and you may not be able to, or you don't know where to start. So we tried to provide more of like a guide to just the basics, as well as provide you with some insights into, certain things. Now, I'll be honest, my team hasn't done a lot of these things, but we were really good in other areas. So that would be the areas that I focused on writing. But I really appreciated reading this ebook to see, oh, that's how I can get started, or I know who to talk to now, or and I know the benefits of it or the use cases I could provide. So so Nate, I don't know if you have anything to add, but that's yeah. Go ahead.
No, I think you bring up a great point, though, that it was like sort of the collective group was able to provide like a pretty wide distribution of all the different areas that TBM can play a part, and then expand upon how might you get started with that, or what types of questions would you be solving for. So for like the program at Liberty Mutual, we've really leaned into total cost of ownership modeling, right? And so the slide on the left hand side is, based on some of the learnings and sort of best practices that we've experienced in putting something like that in place for thousands of end users across the company. And so you have something like that where I was able to bring some experiential learnings into the ebook. And then Matt, I know you've spent a lot of time in configuration and managing the CMDB, and so like you're able to do the same there. So I think we were really happy with the end product, and hope that it can be of use to folks. And you have to kind of balance with an ebook, like the level of depth that you go. I think some of our conversations got much lower level, and we had to kind of pull up, say, okay, what's going to be the right balance of depth here. But certainly if folks on the call do have a chance to look at the ebook, and there's a particular subject area that is of interest to you, happy to spend more time going into detail talking about any of our experiences in each of the subject areas.
Yeah, I mean, we could stop there. And if anyone has looked at the ebook or has any input or questions, we could ask now. Yeah, how do you find the ebook? There is a QR code. Asia, can you go up to the QR code again? Someone just asked, how do they find the ebook? Okay, right there. It's also on the TBM community page for the insurance group. You will find it there. Yep. All right. Okay. With that said, so kind of getting into more of what we're going to be getting into this year at the conference is some survey questions and topics. So what you'll find here are some questions that we have asked in the survey. And we're looking for input, but we would like to get some feedback from the teams to have conversations so we can add more input into the conversation at the conference as well, right? We're always interested in these topics because we hear the state of TBM survey, right, is a big one. We hear it all the time at conference, some of these activities. It's good to hear, in these sessions, actually, more input, because I feel like you get kind of sounded out by a big group of people answering one question. So it'd be great to hear your input here. But from a TBM perspective, keeping it very high level, what are the main activities that are performed by your team? Anyone have any input there? This can be like configuration of the tool or anything like that. So anyone? Okay.
So
Yeah,
we have a few things in the comments. So I'll go
we're
over
still in
some of they're writing in the comments in.
Asia, I'm seeing that maybe the attendees are unable to come off mute.
Oh, my deepest apologies. So hold on, let me change that. Can you all see the questions though?
Yes. We do have rent by build in the ebook. I'll have to double check on the. Yes, we do have rent by build in there as well. So but I was happy to dig into that more, in the session, because let me take a look to see if I can pull up the ebook to highlight that. So that one. Do some expanding it to operation enterprise spend. We have talked so why not add something around expanding beyond IT into operations and enterprise spend, like claims to processing? We have talked about that. So last year, or actually 2 years ago, we did claims.
Yeah.
We did claims OKRs actually. And we dug really heavily into claims. Now, when we did the business services taxonomy 3 years ago, we really expanded out into what the taxonomy is for TBM at the business level. Now, we didn't really get into the spend aspect of it because every company's different, but we did provide more of a standard taxonomy of how to get to that point. Um, but this is still IT centric.
Yeah, now that would you mind if I jump in? Yeah, this is Murari, and good morning, good
Sure.
afternoon to all of you. The TBM taxonomy is still very IT centric. The model brings in IT spend, breaks it down, and then allocates it to a variety of different sources, aligns it to a variety of different areas, but it's very IT centric. What I'm actually talking about is in operations, especially around claims in the insurance area, there's a bunch of spend that has nothing to do with IT. We actually have a couple of customers working with us on this as we speak from the insurance industry. And we'd love to see what it would take for us to start shifting to the edges. Because when I think about the world as it's evolving, right? Not current, not status quo, not looking back. The big trend that we're seeing is companies are looking at things like AI and automation spend, and they're looking at interchangeable, can I cut out some people spend and vended spend that may not be tech and shift into tech? That's very difficult to do if you only have an IT-centric model. In fact, I would argue it's impossible to do with an IT-centric model because you don't have a worldview of all the spend. This is what we're hearing, guys. So just my input, if this is something worth considering, I'd love your opinions.
Yeah.
So like an enterprise business management view, is that what you're kind of hinting towards?
Yeah, I mean, I don't particularly like the EBM view. I lead EBM for Aptio, but regardless of that term, think of it as like, if I think about it as tech and ops, right? As just the key thing that we care about is tech and ops. You have technology that drives so much of your business evolution now, and operations continues to be one of your largest spend areas. Like I've seen data that says claims processing may be as high as 25, 30, 35% of insurance, of your premiums revenue. It is your single largest spend. And the two contributors to claim processing, or two drivers, are really tech and people, right? I mean, it's the processing and stuff, and then tech that can dramatically evolve what that percentage looks like. So this is actually good for the tech side, where it actually means more investment in tech. And so looking at both together will be good. And I'd love to see these groups pushing hard to go into both dimensions. And again, not selfishly because I'm Aptio and I lead the EBM business for Aptio, but regardless, I think more importantly, I think this is a trend that we cannot not avoid.
I think it's fair to say that that's the direction that the industry is going. I think we start to hear more interest from our CFO leadership to try to tie out the value proposition that increased tech spend and the advent of AI is going to have on our operations. I think that TBM, I would agree, is a great place to try to foster some of the playbook for how to structure a cost model to achieve a more common central view. I think the practical reality, at least in my experience, is that the finance teams and the teams managing that spend are quite distant today, and their priorities are very distant. And so I think there'll need to be a continued push, and maybe TBM is a helping hand in that, to help sort of unlock that playbook, to bring those things together more clearly, because I agree that the questions I would anticipate will continue to come, especially as tech is driving more efficiencies in the business. And I think it's I've seen it more in the past year coming out of our planning cycles, that that's an area of interest. But like for our business finance teams, it's expense is one of many considerations, and then like trying to quantify value becomes a very ambiguous exercise depending on the domain. But yeah, I think it's a great flag and something we could probably take back to the work group to think more about. So love the question.
Also, we have a, are you going to add something, Matt?
No, I was gonna say Kush has his
Yeah.
great. Yep.
Hey, I have a broader insurance TBM question as it relates to our Bill of IT initiative at New York Life. Can I ask that question now, or?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi everyone. Thanks again for scheduling this. My name is Kush Patel. I'm the program manager for New York Life's Bill of IT initiative. We started this program about maybe like 12 months ago and are marching towards chargeback next year. This sort of has to deal with how we're kind of selling TBM to the wider organization. With our insurance, with our main life and annuity business, they get it. They are starting to understand it better and understand our service catalog. However, my question is more about like change management and messaging with our asset management business. So with our life insurance company, we also have like an asset management subsidiary, and their main feedback is regarding the one size fits all cost pools and TBM taxonomy we've applied for our Bill of IT. Do you guys have any guidance or just any prior experience with like messaging some of those differences, especially as we receive feedback on, hey, like I see your cost pools, I see your services, but they align with the life and annuity side of the business, but not exactly the asset management segment of it. So any experience there or guidance would be really appreciated.
May I ask a question? So they're talking about the service catalog being a little bit more towards the life insurance side versus the asset management side of things. So what are they exactly looking for, if you don't mind me asking you just that question so I can get more context?
Yeah, it's not even exactly the service catalog itself. It's the cost pool. So like for our end user devices, as an example, like we'll have laptops for like the main segment of our business, life and annuity, which is a large part of our headcount. But for our asset management team, which is much, much smaller, they're still absorbing that per unit cost that bakes in those large labor pools for the life and annuity side. So those are the sorts of examples we're getting, where they say like, hey, you built this really really nice engine, but we only use like a small piece of it. So why are we getting charged as if we need all these resources?
Is your model attributing the number of devices that each business unit is consuming proportionally?
Yes.
So they can see the cost for a single unit, and then they're receiving a charge for the amount of those units that they're actually using, but they don't agree with that charge?
Yes.
Sounds like a tough customer. Yeah, I guess is their issue that it's too expensive on a per unit basis, or something with the actual quantity that's being attributed to their business unit?
That's exactly. It's the former. It's the cost pools that went into that per unit price.
Yeah, that I get that. So if the cost per unit is like is that question, I think what we've had to do, and Matt, feel free to jump in here, is like we at Liberty, we have a consumption-based charge model for all of our shared tech services. We've got 5 different offerings for various types of laptops and end user devices, and we've actually gotten similar challenges on the price point for one device versus another. And what we'd have to do is, through our cost model, is actually step through, like for the group questioning, like what are all the cost inputs that go into deriving that unit rate, and then work with the technology provider, the person responsible for that service, to really understand, like, is our cost model accurately representing what it costs to deliver this service? And at times, in doing some of those deeper dives, what we found is, like, you know what, actually we have some, endpoint security contract spend that's disproportionately being spread over the top of this service. We need to correct that in our cost model, right? And so there's been like little refinements we've done over the a handful of years, but in many cases, when you go to that lower level, in my experience, it's you're showing them the math, you're bringing them along, and and in many cases the cost of the service is actually what it is. And so if you're able to open up the books and show them how that you're deriving that cost, I think they have a little bit less of an ability to challenge and generally appreciate the transparency that you're showing them how your models working. Would be my 2 cents. But Matt, I don't know if you have a take on that.
Yeah, I ran into this with end user chargeback in the past. It's always been an issue for everyone, because I would ask, I'm assuming budget's being transferred to them, or they have, like, they're not just being charged now something brand new, like they're going to be given an appropriated budget at some point to cover these expenses. So as long as that is in alignment, it kind of usually is a wash. But what I've had to do with OCM for end user chargeback is exactly what Nate said, is actually spell out. And some people actually need to see, like, formulas. And it sounds really strange, like you don't normally want to do that, but it'd be like, did you know I took this percentage of this and this percentage of this and this on the consumption? This is how I came to this point, and it's equal for everyone. Like, it's not, I'm not hurting, that kind of, it does help. But what was the other point? So that was a big one there. But also I did an example and told them, did you know that, say we didn't purchase the laptops and we didn't charge you back, and you went to Best Buy or another company and bought the laptop off the shelf, and now you provide yourself with security, O365 support, delivery of the laptops, a break fix, all that stuff like that, and everything you put in there, it's going to cost more probably for you to put that on a per unit basis. That sometimes helps drive home, like, you're not getting hurt. This is just IT. Right? This is just the expense that we're paying. We're just charging you for it, and we're providing budget for it. So now you just know, what it costs. So I know it was very difficult, especially when we had like 50,000 units we were discussing with all these different business. It's not, end user is probably one of the hardest, I would say, in a charge round to defend, because people are like, it's just a laptop I can buy for $800, and well, that's not the case, right? So
that's both examples are very helpful there. I think from what I can take away is, like, in my own words, like, draw it in crayon for them, basically, and like just make sure they understand the math, the cost pools, and even the comment that you wrote on, like, benchmarking would be helpful in that example. So thank you.
Yep. Any other insights or questions? Okay. So one of the things I know we talked about the main activities TBM team. If you guys want to just type that in on the side, that actually would be more. That's more for me, just understanding the difference of what teams do. Kind of want to get into the governance body and steer committee. That one to me has hit home based on some of the survey results that we have received. Has anyone here? Does anyone here have a formal governance body or steering committee that they would like to highlight, and how it might work for them? Okay. So one of the highlights we did see from the survey so far is that this is actually lacking across insurance industry, and I'm assuming this is not just an insurance industry issue, but more so from just TBM in general. A lot of times TBM has trouble being successful if not having some sort of circuit or executive support. And Nate, you probably have seen this as well.
Yeah.
I couldn't get TBM going until I actually had a standing meeting. Finally got buy-in from the CIO, and he's like, everyone has to meet once a month with this team. But the way we really made it work, and this is just a recommendation, we didn't just make it TBM. We made it, all right, this might be the only chance certain people on an IT or IT finance can come in and go, so what are the top 10 actions we need answered within this month for priority projects, priority that, so they don't have to wait to the next meeting. Like it was kind of just another stationary meeting, and then we promoted TBM as well on top of it. So that that's how we got it going, and it actually really worked, and we got a lot done in a year. So I'll just leave it there. I don't know if Nate or I know Dave,
Yeah.
you as well. So
I think our steering committee, we still, as our TBM team, reflects on the successes of our initial implementation and attribute a lot of that success to the steering committee that we stood up. It was a collection of our technology leadership team. We had the CIOs from each of our business units that would meet monthly, and we would bring forward decision points, and there would be a lot of open debate, follow-ups for a different look at things that over the course of 2 years, we were able to really build out a fully consumptive based service catalog to facilitate chargeback for over 40% of our IT budget. That was shared services. And so every CIO now feels like they have some ownership. They've had some design in how that model is working. And now every year it's just a little bit easier in terms of maintenance. We bring forward improvements, modifications to that catalog, to that group still, and allow them to weigh in on, as we start to introduce more AI capabilities, how are we actually charging and recovering for the cost of the investments that the tech organization's making there. And so I think in a world where many of these programs are built out of like a finance team, like a need for more transparency or tighter expense management. If you don't have that partnership with your leadership team, in our case, the technology leadership team, I think you're just going to be facing a really uphill battle in getting the sponsorship and the advocacy for teams to engage, because now it's not only just that annual review, but we're asked to come and provide like quarterly reporting updates or trend analysis to each of these CIOs leadership teams. And so it's a regular dialogue that they're looking to their direct reports to now understand and really operate with those results in mind. And so I think you sort of create this culture where people understand it's part of their jobs. It's not sort of this side project. And so I think we come back to that steering committee as a big part of the early success. So if folks haven't embraced that, I would strongly recommend it.
Yeah, and the way you could gear it towards it, and so I know all of us have had those emails that have gone unread for action items for you to move forward on things. The way I approach this, or my team approaches before, is this is an actions committee. This is not like we're just going to tell you what we've been doing. This is like my first 2 slides are I need an action, and I'm not leaving this room until I get an action on on these things, because otherwise we cannot move forward. And we would send the slides ahead of time so they were aware. But for instance, with the end user chargeback, we were launching that. They were like, I need to know our top personas so that I can align them to the end user so that I know how to do the chargeback appropriately. And I can't leave until I do it because I have a deadline of this date. I know leadership appreciates an action-minded approach versus fluff. So, or at least my leadership did. So if you can't get it to a governance meeting, call it a TBM actions meeting, and then 30 minutes, an hour, once a month, and I think you'll make some movement. So, I see there's a question. How many of you run the model to your business, and where do you go to the business? And when you go to the business later, do you look at end customer? Can you come off mute and maybe discuss your question, Rory?
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I might know where he's going with it, but
Yeah.
So in the TBM taxonomy, obviously we've got like towers, services. You start to get up into business capabilities and the higher levels of maturity in the model. What we've tried to do is I talked a little bit about like our shared tech services model for facilitating consumption-based chargeback. Those are technology services. But what we've done in our cost of ownership modeling is we've actually mapped those services up to business applications. And then we started to ask the question, well, what business capabilities do those business applications enable? And so we're starting to partner more with like our enterprise architecture teams to come up with a common taxonomy for our business capabilities and putting cost there. I think, and it goes to, I think, the point made earlier in terms of like enterprise operations cost. To really have a full TCO of a business capability, it's really the technology cost and the operational cost. So that would be, again, something on our roadmap that it's like we first want to feel like we have a scalable model to map just the technology costs, because that's what our team is closest to, what we control in terms of modeling, and then be able to bring that to business finance teams and say, hey, this is a standard taxonomy for business capabilities, for application costing. How can we get the operational costs to sort of complement in that same view? So that's sort of on our TBM roadmap, or kind of multi-year maturity roadmap. But I think we've definitely made a good partner internally with our enterprise architecture group that's really interested in partnering with us to move that forward. So I think with the intent, it's like that lens is going to resonate more with the business audience than talking about server costs or storage costs, that kind of thing. So yeah, we've started to definitely go down that path.
EJ, I know we're at time. I don't know what if we should keep going or if we I know that we didn't get to all the questions, but those are the type of questions we're looking to answer in the survey as well as at the conference. So if you could provide some input, especially around AI, we're going to have live survey in there. But please bring any questions to the conference, even if it's not covering the survey. We want to be able to cover and answer and get some input from everyone in there. So, but
Also, sorry,
What?
something just to add on. If you still have questions and you may not have felt comfortable coming off mute or putting them in the chat, feel free to send them over via TBM Connect. You can post them on the insurance community in the follow-up email. I will post the link to the community. So if you'd like to talk about the open forum or any questions that just weren't at top of mind at the time and you want to ask the question now, you can. Or you can email me and I'll take it back to the community and the work group. But if you do have the time, if you're not following us on LinkedIn, please, this is the QR code to follow us on LinkedIn. And then if you're not part of the TBM community, it is free to join. This is a QR code to join the community, to log in. And then once you log in and become a member, we do have the insurance community in TBM Connect. So you can connect with any of us on there as well.
AJ, I just wanted to make one real quick comment. I've been part of the working group here for the last 2 years, and I think it's fantastic just because I am able to glean insights from people who do the same thing that I do at other companies, and learn the approaches that they took to certain situations, maybe how it differed from what I did. Putting that ebook together, I learned a ton, about the different topics that we were covering, and have been able to take some of that stuff back and change how we do some things in our TBM practice. So I don't know, I find it very practical. Working on these documents and whatnot are important, but even more important is just gaining insights from people that do the same thing I do. So I really appreciate that.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate your time.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Really appreciate the conversation today.
Thank you.
Bye.